fashion economics.
इस वीडियो में हम देखेंगे कि कंज्यूमर सरप्लस क्या होता है, हम इसको कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं और इसके एप्लीकेशंस क्या क्या होते हैं। तो पहले हम जानेंगे कि कंज्यूमर सरप्लस क्या होता है। इन इकोनॉमिक्स, कंज्यूमर सरप्लस इज प्योरली अ साइकोलॉजिकल कॉन्सेप्ट. Leopold first coined the term consumer surplus in 1844, where he used to measure the social welfare from the public goods. After that, in 1890, Marshall came with his book Principles of Economics, in which he explained the consumer surplus in a detailed manner. So let us understand what is consumer surplus. So basically consumer surplus एक price difference है. कैसा price difference? जो consumer actually pay करना चाहता है और जो वो actually pay करता है. Let us understand this with a good example. So let us say मुझे ये मार्कर खरीदनी है. Now my need for marker is very urgent. So मैं इस मार्कर को खरीदने के लिए मैं 50 रुपए देने के लिए तैयार हूँ. पर ये मार्कर एक्चुअली मुझे 10 रुपए में मिल रही है. So my actual willingness to pay was 50 rupees, but the price which I am paying is 10 rupees. So the difference between actual price and the price which I was willing to pay is my consumer surplus. So in this way, if we count, my actual willingness was 50 rupees, but what I am paying is 10 rupees. So rupees 40 is my consumer surplus. रियल लाइफ में कंज्यूमर सरप्लस जैसी कोई चीज नहीं होती, पर इन इकोनॉमिक्स देयर इज दिस साइकोलॉजिकल कॉन्सेप्ट. सो बेसिकली कंज्यूमर सरप्लस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द प्राइस. वन इज विलिंग टू पे. विलिंग टू पे इज व्हाट आई एम एक्चुअली विलिंग टू पे. सो लेट अस से देयर इज अ गुड जिससे मेरी यूटिलिटी काफी ज्यादा है और मुझे उस गुड की अर्जेंसी है, तो मैं उस गुड के लिए शायद ज्यादा पे करने को भी रेडी हूं. सो दैट इज द प्राइस आई एम विलिंग टू पे, कि मैं कितना देना चाहता हूं उस गुड के लिए. एंड द प्राइस द वन इज एक्चुअली पेइंग, पर शायद मार्केट में उस गुड की प्राइस ज्यादा भी हो सकती है और कम भी हो सकती है. लेट अस से एक डस्टर है, ये डस्टर की विलिंगनेस मुझे अभी बोर्ड इरेज करना है, तो इसकी नीड मुझे काफी ज्यादा है, तो मैं इसके लिए शायद 40 रुपए देने के लिए रेडी हूं, पर इसकी एक्चुअल प्राइस तो 20 रुपए है. तो जो 20 रुपए बचेगा एक्स्ट्रा, दैट इज माय कंज्यूमर सरप्लस. पर एक्चुअल में ऐसा रियल कॉन्सेप्ट कोई होता नहीं है. सो मार्शल का ये कहना था कि कंज्यूमर सरप्लस इज जनरली द डिफरेंस बिटवीन the price a consumer is willing to pay and the price consumer is actually paying. Mathematically, he explained that consumer surplus is equal to sum of marginal utility minus price into quantity. So the sum of marginal utility shows the demand. Generally marginal utility हमने पढ़ी थी, तो marginal utility में हमने पढ़ा है कि with increase in consumption our utility decreases. तो जो utility होती है वो consumption के साथ घटती जाती है, increase in consumption के साथ घटती जाती है. तो let us take an example that there is a good, let us say there is a good X, और हम उसके फर्स्ट यूनिट के लिए हम लोग 25 रुपए देने के लिए तैयार है, सेकंड यूनिट के लिए 20 रुपए. सो we see that with the increase in quantity of good there is decrease in marginal valuation. So for first good the marginal valuation or the price I am willing to pay is 25 rupees. For the second good I am willing to pay is 20 rupees. For the third good I am willing to pay is 15 rupees and so on. Now the actual price in the market is 10 rupees for all good. Now obviously let us assume that the market is perfect competition. So in perfect competition the price of the good will be same for each and every, whether you take one good or whether you take 100 good, the price will be same. So the price is 10 rupees. So from here we can calculate the marginal benefit. Now for first good the actual price is 10 rupees, but the price which I am willing to pay, or according to my marginal utility, this is the demand price. जनरली मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी होती है वही हमारी डिमांड होती है, क्योंकि उसी से हमारा डिमांड कर्व बनता है. तो 25 रुपीस इज मार्जिनल वैल्यूएशन. सो फर्स्ट गुड के लिए 25 इज व्हाट आई एम विलिंग टू पे, बट व्हाट आई एम एक्चुअली पेइंग इज रुपीस 10. सो 15 इज माय मार्जिनल बेनिफिट एंड सो ऑन. व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट द मार्जिनल बेनिफिट ऑफ ऑल 6 क्वांटिटीज वी गेट रुपीस 18. नाउ वी कैन आल्सो कैलकुलेट दिस विद द हेल्प ऑफ this formula, that summation of marginal utility. If we calculate the summation of all this, let us do it. 25 plus 20 plus 15, this is 45 plus 15 is 60 plus 10 70 plus 5 75, and this is 78 rupees. So here what we get is 78 rupees equals to sum of marginal utility. Now price is 10, we know that price is 10 rupees and quantity is 6. So consumer surplus equals to sum of marginal utility. Let me erase all this. Here we have three values. Marginal utility, summation of marginal utility is rupees 78, price is rupees 10 and quantity is 6. So CS equals to sum of MU minus P into Q. Sum of mu is 78 minus 10 into 6, that is 78 minus 60 equals to 18 rupees. Consumer surplus is 18 rupees. So either you do the summation of marginal benefit or you calculate through the formula, the answer will be same. So the total consumer surplus is rupees 18. Now let us understand the same thing through the graph. Now on x-axis we are taking the quantity of the product and on y-axis we are taking price and marginal valuation. So for the first good I am willing to pay 25 rupees. For the second good I am willing to pay 20 rupees. For the third good I am willing to pay 15 rupees. For the fourth good I am willing to pay 10 rupees. This graph is based on this schedule. So for the fifth good what I am willing to pay is 5 rupees. For the sixth good what I am willing to pay is 3 rupees. For the seventh good and so on. Now we know that the price is 10 rupees for all the goods. So here there is a price line tagging the 10. All the area above the price line, that is let us name these points A, B, C, D. All the area above the price line shows the consumer surplus. So the green shaded area is consumer surplus. Now we will understand consumer surplus with the help of demand curve. Demand is function of price. As we can see here, the D is equal to F of P, that is function of price. So let us say there is a demand curve or as a demand function Q, that is function of P, which equals to 100 minus 2P. This is a particular demand function. Now we will see the demand schedule where we are going to see the different quantities and different prices which we are ready to pay for it. So if the quantity at price 105 we are willing to buy two quantities. So we know that the law of demand basically states that as the price increases, the demand is going to decrease. So at lower price level, the demand is high. So and as the prices are increasing, the demand is also decreasing. So in the graph, we can see that at price level 105, the demand is 2. At price level 90, the demand is 4, and so on. Now making joining all the points A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, we get a downward sloping demand curve. DD equals to QP, that is function of price. This particular demand curve. Now let us assume that the market equilibrium price in perfect competition is rupees 45. So let us assume that the price is rupees 45. So we'll draw a line here which shows that the price in the market is rupees 45. So we can see that at point E price is 45. So let us draw a line which shows the price is 45. At 45 rupees we can buy 10 quantity of good. Now here we can see that as it is perfect competition and the prices are determined in the market is rupees 45. So whether I buy quantity of goods 2, 4, 6, 8 or 10, the price which I have to pay is rupees 45. So whether even if I buy two quantities of good, I have to pay only 45 rupees, that is this much. But before this I was willing to pay rupees 105 for two quantities, that is this much amount. So this much amount left will be my consumer surplus. Now again for 4 quantity I was willing to pay rupees 90, but now I will have to pay only 45 rupees. So the shaded area above the price line is my consumer surplus. Again for 6 the quantity of goods equals to 6. I was willing to pay rupees 75, but I will have to pay only rupees 45. So the area above the price line is consumer surplus. So the area above price line under the demand curve is consumer surplus. So this particular area shows consumer surplus and demand curve. Now to calculate the amount of consumer surplus, here we need to use integration. Integration basically is the opposite of differentiation. So if you don't know differentiation, you need to learn that first and then integration. I'm showing you some basic rules of integration on the screen right now, so you can see. Now we will find the consumer surplus with the help of integration. So here is a question: find consumer surplus if demand function is Q equals to 100 minus 2P and price equals to 45 rupees. So let us draw the graph first. So on x-axis we will take quantity and on y-axis we will take prices. Now here it is origin. Our demand function is Q equals to 100 minus 2P. So that is our demand function. So demand function is demand is a downward sloping curve. So our demand function will be Q equals to 100 minus 2P. Now here we have the prices P equals to 45 rupees. So first let us find the quantity So to find equilibrium quantity, we'll just have to put the prices given into the demand function. So the prices given is Q equals to 100 minus 2P. This is our demand function. We'll reverse this demand function for finding the consumer surplus. So Q equals to 100 minus 2P. Q equals to 100 minus 2 into 45, that is given price. So Q equals to 100 minus 90 equals to 10. So quantity equals to 10. So now we have equilibrium quantity and equilibrium prices. So we'll write here P equals to 45 and Q equals to 10. So we'll draw in the graph now. Here let us name this as point E. Here equilibrium price equals to rupees 45 and equilibrium quantity is 10. Now we need to find the area of triangle AEP in order to find the consumer surplus, because we know that the area above the price line means this whole area is our consumer surplus. So in order to find the consumer surplus, we need to find the area of triangle AEP. We will find the area of triangle AEP with the help of integration. When we integrate demand function, this particular demand function will get the whole area below the demand curve. Now we don't need the whole area below the demand curve. So what we will do is we will use the concept of upper and lower limit. Using lower limit as 0, that is from origin, and upper limit as 10, that is the equilibrium quantity, we will firstly find the area of quadrilateral AOQE, and then we will subtract the area of square POQE from the whole quadrilateral to get the particular area of triangle APE. Now the demand function is Q equals to 100 minus 2P. So the demand function, for the same demand function, we can also write that Q equals to 100 minus 2P. So 2P equals to 100 minus Q. So P equals to 100 minus Q by 2. So this is also our demand function. We generally reverse to the demand function, but it all remains same. So this is our demand function. Now we will integrate this particular demand function with respect to Q. So for integrating demand function with respect to Q using upper and lower limit, we will just apply the formula. So formula for consumer surplus you can also write is integration of demand function, that is what was the new demand function? P equals to 100 minus Q by 2. This was our new demand function. So it is 100 minus Q by 2 with respect to Q. Will integrate with upper limit 10 and lower limit 0 minus what we will separate from this, the area of particular square POQE. So the area of generally square or rectangle is length into breadth. So length is 45 and breadth is 10. So it will be P into Q. Now let us integrate it. So integration of this will be, when we'll integrate this, we'll get, let us take 1 by 2 as constant and we'll take it out. So 1 by 2, 100 will be 100 Q minus Q will be Q square upon 2. Upper limit is 10 and lower limit is 0 minus P is 45 and Q is 10. Now what we'll do is 1 by 2. Now what we have to do is put this value of 10 and 0 in place of Q and then subtract from 10 from the function with 10 minus the function with 0. But when we'll put 0 in at the place of Q, what we'll get is 0. So there is no point of doing that. So we'll directly put 10 in place of 0 in place of Q. So 100 into 10 minus 10 square upon 2 minus 45 into 10 is 450. So equal to 1 by 2, 100 into 10 is 1000 minus 100 upon 2 minus 450. Now what we'll do is we'll just calculate it. So 100 into 2, 1000 into 2000, 2000 minus 100 by 2 minus 450, 1 by 2. So 2000 minus 100, it will be 1900. So it will be 1 by 2, 1900 by 2 minus 450. So it will be 1900 by 4, because we multiplied this, minus 450. So it will be 1900 minus 1800 by 4 will be 100 by 4, which will be equal to 25. So 25 will be our consumer surplus. How it came is basically 4 into 450, that is 400 into 400 is 1600 plus 50 into 4 is 200, so that is 1800. So 1900 minus 1800 is 100 upon 4, so 100 upon 4 is 25, and that is our consumer surplus. So here the area of this, the value of this area is 25, so our consumer surplus is 25. So this is how we find consumer surplus with the help of integration. Now we will learn about the effect of change in price on consumer surplus. So we know that in perfect market competition, prices are determined by market forces of demand and supply. So where the demand and supply curve interacts, that will be our equilibrium price. Now if there is changes in demand or supply, the prices are tend to change. That is, if there is decrease in supply, the prices will go up, or if there is increase in demand, the prices will go up. This is the basic mechanism of market in perfect competition. Now we know that, let us assume that at equilibrium level, or initially the demand curve DD is there in the market, and at equilibrium level the prices are determined in the market are OP level of prices and the quantity is OQ level of quantity. So at this level of prices, our consumer surplus will be triangle APE. So the above shaded area will be our consumer surplus. Now if there is increase in prices from OP to OP dash, let us say the prices increase from OP to OP dash, so there will be reduction in our consumer surplus. So there will be loss of consumer surplus, as this curve will be, as this price line will shift upwards, and our consumer surplus will be shifted. Our consumer surplus will be A P dash E dash. So the loss, the amount of loss in consumer surplus is P dash P E dash. So this much amount of loss is there when there is increase in price. Now let us see what happens if there is decrease in price. So initially the level is PE. Now if there is decrease in price from level PE to P double dash, OP double dash, the price is, and E double dash, and the quantity is Q dash. So at this level of prices there will be gain in consumer surplus. Also this will be excess gain. Here what we see is at O, and here there is excess loss, Q double dash, Q dash or Q double dash. Here is or excess loss and excess gain is also known as dead. Excess loss is also known as deadweight loss. So here what happens is, with decrease in price there is gain in consumer surplus. So initial level of consumer surplus was APE, and due to decrease in price or due to reduction in price, the new consumer surplus will be A P double dash E double dash. So the total amount of gain in consumer surplus is P double dash, E double dash, and E. So this much area will be the added consumer surplus. So far we have seen the meaning and calculation of consumer surplus. Now we will learn about the application of consumer surplus, that where it is used. तो जनरली कंज्यूमर सरप्लस हम कहाँ यूज करते हैं? फर्स्ट, टू अंडरस्टैंड वाटर डायमंड पैराडॉक्स. सेकंड, टू इवैल्यूएट लॉस बेनिफिट फ्रॉम टैक्सेस. थर्ड, टू इवैल्यूएट गेन फ्रॉम सब्सिडीज. एंड फोर्थ, कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस. सो हम बारी बारी से हर एक चीज को समझेंगे. फर्स्ट इज डायमंड वाटर पैराडॉक्स. जनरली ये कहता है कि जो स्कैर्स रिसोर्सेज है, जैसे कि डायमंड इन केस ऑफ कंज्यूमर सरप्लस, डायमंड जैसे स्कैर्स रिसोर्सेज में कंज्यूमर सरप्लस बहुत ही कम होगा एज कंपेयर्ड टू रिसोर्सेज व्हिच आर नॉट स्कैर्स, दैट इज वाटर. हम लोग जब देखें तो डायमंड के कंपैरिजन में वाटर इज नॉट अ स्कैर्स रिसोर्स. So when we talk about water, the consumer surplus will be very high. But the diamond water paradox is particularly talking about the use or the utility of the things, that we are ready to pay high prices for diamond, but the use of diamond or the utility of diamond is nothing to us, because it is not it is not necessary for living. But water, which is a necessity, that is required to live or to live the life, is we are getting at very low prices. So this is what diamond water paradox says, कि जो necessity है उसकी prices कम है as compared to non necessary goods such as diamond. Let us understand the diamond water paradox in case of consumer surplus. So consumer surplus के केस में diamond water paradox generally ये कहता है कि जो resources scarce होंगे उसमें हमारा consumer surplus बहुत ही कम होगा as compared to resources which are widely available. So on x-axis we will take demand for water and diamond. On y-axis we will take price of water and diamond. Now we know the demand curve is a downward sloping curve. So let us first draw the demand curve for diamond. Here DD is a demand curve for diamond where point A, here the price for OQ quantity of diamond is OP, which is relatively high price. We can see that the demand curve is steep. So the effect of change in price on quantity will be very high. That is, the elasticity is very high. So the curve is steep. Now we can see that the prices are very high as compared to the quantity. So here our consumer surplus is very less, that is equal to area APE. Now let us draw a demand curve for water. So the demand curve for water will be dW, where the price of water for quantity OQ dash will be OP dash. Here we can see that the area above the price line, that is area above P dash E line, will be the consumer surplus. Because water is widely available, so the prices are very low. So we know that in law of supply, as the supply is very high, the prices will be very low. In case of diamond, the resources which are scarce, the prices are very high, so the consumer surplus is low. But in case of resources which are widely available, such as water, the prices are very low, and so the consumer surplus is very high. So this is so here we use consumer surplus to understand the diamond water paradox and scarce and widely available resources. Now we will understand how consumer surplus helps us to evaluate the loss of benefit due to imposition of taxes from government. So let us understand this through a graph. Initially on x-axis we are taking demand of cars, and on y-axis we are taking prices of cars. So the demand curve goes downward sloping DD, which shows the demand of cars at different prices. Now let us say that initially the market determined, it is a perfect competition without the interference of government, so the market determined prices of cars were rupees 5 lakh. So let us assume that the market determined prices of car is rupees 5 lakh. So the prices level are OP, and the quantity which is supplied at OP level of price is OQ. So the equilibrium is at point E. Here we can see that the area above line PE is the consumer surplus. So let us name this as point A. The area of triangle APA is the consumer surplus. Now government imposed taxes on the companies, so there is increase in sales taxes. So due to introduction of sales taxes, the production cost, or we can say the sales cost, increase, and the final prices of cars which were 5 lakh in market earlier is now turned to higher prices, let us say 5,50,000. So the price line shifts from point OP to point OP dash. So the new price line will be OP dash, and our new equilibrium will be P dash. Here the prices are 5,50,000, and the quantity supplied at that price will be Q dash. Here what we need to observe is that due to imposition of taxes, so for the amount of taxes which government will gain is P dash, E dash, and E. This will be the amount of taxes which government will gain due to sales of OQ dash quantity of product or cars. So this will be the amount of taxes. This will be the net gain in taxes of government. This much loss of quantity, so Q dash Q, or this much loss of quantity, is known as excess loss to consumers. So this much amount of loss is loss to consumers, because due to this imposition of taxes or sales taxes, the gain of government is only this much amount, but consumer lost this much amount of consumer surplus. So the loss in consumer surplus, or the loss of consumer surplus, is P dash, P, E, and E dash. This whole area will be loss of consumer surplus, but the gain of government from taxes will be P dash, P, E, and D. The government will gain only this much area of taxes. So the area of E dash ED, this triangle will be certified dead weight loss because there is loss of consumer surplus, but also there is no gain of government in this portion. So there is loss of consumers plus there is no gain for government, so it is termed as dead weight loss by government. So the consumer surplus will reduce from triangle APE to triangle A dash P dash E dash. So this is what happens when government introduces taxes. So there is welfare loss of consumers and there is also loss in consumer surplus. Now we will evaluate the effect of subsidy on consumer surplus. So for that we'll first draw the demand curve and then see. So on x-axis we'll take demand of cars and on y-axis we'll take prices. So DD is a downward sloping demand curve for different prices of cars at different level of quantity. So DD is the demand curve. Let us assume that in market it is a perfect competition and there is no interference of government. So market determined prices of car is, let us say, rupees 5 lakh. Okay, so the prices will be OP and the quantity supplied at that level of prices will be OQ and the equilibrium will be at OE level. Now due to introduction of subsidy by government, the prices are tend to reduce. So due to introduction of subsidy by government, the prices will reduce from OP to OP dash. Let us say the prices will reduce by 50,000. So the new prices will be 4,50,000. So the new prices will be 4,50,000. So our equilibrium will shift from E to E dash as new prices will be OP dash. Now we know that earlier the consumer surplus was equal to APE, which was above price line, but now we can see that there is gain in consumer surplus, this much amount of gain. Also this triangle, let us name this point as point D, triangle EDE dash will also be added to consumer surplus. Here we can see that this much E dash and R amount of loss will be excess to the government due to imposition of subsidies. तो जब गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडी इंपोज करती है या फिर इंट्रोड्यूस करती है तो उनको थोड़ा लॉस बियर करना पड़ता है, तो वो लॉस होगा इक्वल टू अमाउंट ऑफ E डैश, बट कंज्यूमर गेन दिस विल बी टर्म्ड एज एक्सेस गेन, क्योंकि अब वो ज्यादा क्वांटिटी खरीद सकते हैं एज कंपेयर टू अर्लियर. So there will be increase in quantity plus there will be gain in consumer surplus. So due to effect of subsidy or due to introduction of subsidy, तो जब गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडी इंट्रोड्यूस करती है तो कंज्यूमर सरप्लस में गेन होता है, तो जो कंज्यूमर सरप्लस इनिशियल होता है वो बढ़ जाता है. So the new consumer surplus will be A P dash E dash. This will be the new consumer surplus, A P dash and E dash. So this is how consumer surplus is affected by the introduction of subsidies. Consumer surplus is also used to analyze the cost and benefits of certain projects or policies which are implemented by government. तो गवर्नमेंट जनरली क्या करती है, गवर्नमेंट कंज्यूमर सरप्लस को देख के काफी अपनी पॉलिसीज या फिर काफी अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स है वो बना सकते हैं. कैसे, हम आइए देखते हैं. लेट अस एज्यूम दैट एक रोड है जो काफी लंबा है और वो रोड है उधर ट्रैवल करने का एक सर्टेन कॉस्ट होता है. तो अगर एक जना अकेला ट्रैवल करेगा तो वो कॉस्ट काफी ज्यादा है, पर अगर 10 जने ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं तो वो कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा, क्योंकि द प्राइसेस ऑफ पेट्रोल, लेट अस से कि एक जना अकेला ट्रैवल कर रहा है तो सारा पेट्रोल का प्राइस उसे अकेले को बियर करना पड़ रहा है, और अगर 10 लोग कर रहे हैं तो वो प्राइस है वो डिवाइड हो रहा है. पर नाउ गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू एनालाइज के अगर हमें इस एक जने को भी कम प्राइसेस में ट्रैवल करने देना है तो वो कैसे कर सकते हैं. तो गवर्नमेंट इज प्लानिंग टू बिल्ड अ फ्लाईओवर अराउंड दैट रोड सो दैट जो डिस्टेंस है वो कट हो जाए. तो पहले हम इनिशियल केस देखते हैं कि जब एक जना ट्रैवल कर रहा है तो वो प्राइस काफी ज्यादा हो रही है और ज्यादा कर रहे हैं तो कम हो रही है, तो ऑब्वियसली ये एक डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग डिमांड कर्व बन जाएगा. सो इट विल बी अ डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग डिमांड कर्व DD. लेट अस एज्यूम दैट हियर जब 10 जने ट्रैवल कर रहा है तो प्राइसेस हो रहा है मार्केट में, उसके प्राइसेस हो रहा है 50 रुपीस. सो लेट अस एज्यूम दैट व्हेन 10 people are traveling here, let us assume that it is 10, so prices, or let us name this as point Q, the prices here are rupees 50 or for traveling quantity is 10 and price is 50 for 10 people. Here is equilibrium. So government ने देखा कि at OP prices और OP cost there is OQ, मतलब 10 जने OP cost पे ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं. अगर हम फ्लाईओवर बनाए तो इसका क्या इफेक्ट होगा, अब हम ये देखते हैं. नाउ लेट अस से कि गवर्नमेंट ने फ्लाईओवर बनाया और उसकी वजह से जो कॉस्ट ऑफ ट्रैवलिंग था वो कट हो गया. तो हम लोग पहले देखते हैं इस लेवल पे एट ओपी लेवल ऑफ प्राइस आर कंज्यूमर सरप्लस वाज एपीई, ये हमारा इनिशियल कंज्यूमर सरप्लस था। अब जब गवर्नमेंट ने एक फ्लाईओवर कंस्ट्रक्ट कर दिया उस रोड पे, तो जो ट्रैवलिंग प्राइस था, एवरेज ट्रैवलिंग प्राइस था इधर ₹50 था, पर now due to construction of a flyover there, the average traveling cost reduced to ₹40, so the new level of prices will be ₹40, so the prices will drop from P to P dash, so the new prices will be OP dash, and also at new level of prices OP dash, now more number of people can travel, so our new equilibrium will be E dash and the new quantity will be Q dash. Let us say ये quantity बढ़ के 15 हो गई। Now what we can say is, जो पहले बिना फ्लाईओवर के ओपी प्राइस मतलब 50 रुपए में 10 जने ट्रैवल करते थे, अब विद फ्लाईओवर 40 रुपए में 15 जने ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं। ठीक है, तो जब हम ये कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालाइज करते हैं कि पहले फर्स्ट केस में क्या होता था, 50 रुपए में सिर्फ 10 जने ट्रैवल करते थे, तो पर पर्सन कॉस्ट क्या आता था, ₹5। ठीक है, पर पर्सन कॉस्ट ₹5 आता था। नाउ 40 में 15 ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं, सो सेकंड केस में 40 रुपए में 15 लोग ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं, सो पर पर्सन कॉस्ट विल बी 40 by 15, so it will be something around, let us say 40 by 15 is 15 2s are 30, so average cost आएगा 2.5 around something आएगा। okay, so the average cost, now here government analyze के जो पहले हमने बिना फ्लाईओवर के जो कॉस्ट था ट्रैवलिंग का वो काफी ज्यादा था, that is ₹5। now due to construction of flyover the cost reduced to half a price, that is almost 2.5 or 2.6 let us say। तो इसमें क्या हुआ कि जो इनिशियल कंज्यूमर सरप्लस था दैट इज एपीई अमाउंट, वो बढ़ के एपी डैश ई डैश अमाउंट हो गया, तो कंज्यूमर सरप्लस हो गया। तो इससे क्या इंक्रीज हुआ, सोशल बेनिफिट इंक्रीज हुआ। सो this is the way how government uses the concept of consumer surplus in determining the cost benefit analysis, in analyzing the cost and benefit of certain projects and plans।